Hello once again everybody, High Lord Tamerlane back with yet another of his obscurities in miniature. Today we're going to be taking another look at the Lord of Sorrows from Creature Caster. Now, one caveat before I begin, I have not actually finished building him. You'll notice that there's a big pile of pieces here. These are his wings and his shell, I guess, that goes over them. I haven't actually glued those on because I really think it's going to be difficult to get in there and paint, because you'll notice how tight these connecting points are. It's going to be a real difficult job getting in there to get the paintbrush, because I don't have an airbrush. So, Lord of Sorrows. He is quite an interesting figure. Again, at first glance, I thought it was a Hive Tyrant for a Tyranid-style stand-in, but no, that's not the case. Upon closer inspection, he is most certainly a very plague-like Nurgle demon. Could make a great demon prince for you. Couple of things. So obviously we mentioned this before, but it bears mentioning again. He does have the sword in his hands, but there is the option for the axe as well, and then has a separate hand. You'll notice that both of his lower extremities are aiming down, whereas that one's a bit more bent. So that's how you can tell those apart. His top hands with the fingers, actually, upon closer inspection, he has a pair of extra arms that end in proboscis-like serrated, bladed claw things. I went with the hands. I'm not sure why, because usually I'm all about blades and hand-to-hand combat stuff. These interesting tentacle intestine thingies, a word of advice if you do end up purchasing them. Put those on first. They go between his legs, and if you glue the legs on, you're going to have a hard time fitting these things in. The way that the leg armor overlaps where those intestinal, phallic-y tentacle things connect, it's going to be a bit of a problem, and I had to really jam them in there to get them to fit. Otherwise, fit-wise, I had no issues. As I mentioned before, all of the parts, at least most of the major parts, have those little holes in them. As you can see there. Oh, wait, no. I might have drilled that one. Let's turn him around. Sorry, folks. So, yeah. Okay, on his back there, you can see those 4 little holes. Those were actually pre-marked, and those are the perfect spots, so that way you can put the pins in, and he is good to go to help support all of the heavy limbs. I did some pinning, not on all of the joints, but for the most part, it was a pretty simple build. I did take one glance, I'll admit. I looked at the website just to double-check how to put some of the things together. It was nowhere as bad as the Queen of Lust, or whatever the big queen is called. We'll show her off in a little bit. But overall, it was pretty simple. And he, he's got a good, nice height. I want to say it's about a 50mm base. So he doesn't take up too much tabletop real estate. And let's grab some figures to see how he compares scale-wise. So, our typical stand-in GW human does not even come up to his knee. We'll grab a GW Demon Prince. This is most likely what I would end up using this guy for. You can see, I mean, there's a big size difference there. He's a lot more imposing and impressive, and considering how much Nurgle-y stuff I have, I think that's what he's going to get used for, as a Nurgle Demon Prince. Putting aside my GW Demon Prince, why don't we see how he compares to Creature Caster's own Lord of Malice. Both these guys are about the same price point. They're about the same size, same weapons, same options. I did forget to mention that, just like our Lord of Malice here, our Lord of Sorrows friend also has a separate, not separate, but an alternate headpiece. If you're into magnetizing, I mean, you can probably put these so they all swap out. That's what the optional head looks like. It's very insect-like. Didn't end up using it with the Hive Tyrant style pointy horned head. So yeah, there's our Lord of Malice, there's our Lord of Sorrows, and our pitiful, pathetic human. So I thought, you know what, I made a bunch of videos once upon a time about almost all of the various Creature Caster models that I own, and unfortunately, they've been lost to the warp. I have no idea what happened to them. They're not on any hard drive, or phone, or camera, or OneDrive, or anywhere that I can find, so why don't we try parading those guys on out? So, since this is supposed to be a big Nurgle-y demon, what better thing to compare them to than to Creature Caster's own big Nurgly demon. This being, I want to say he was called the Lord of Ruin, and he is quite the character. I mean, you can see. Let's put the human in just for perspective's sake. Now, one thing I wanted to comment on both of these models, I'm very happy when they have these nice big indentations for the feet for the model to lock in, match up, and keep him stable. Why would I mention that? Because in just a little bit, I'm going to bust out the Queen of Lust, and she is not as blessed in that department. And the Lord of Ruin is ruining my camera angle here. Sit down, dude. There we go. And our Lord of Ruin friend here, just like our Lord of Sorrows, does in fact have optional heads, optional weapons. I want to say he had a ball and chain Morningstar type weapon in addition to the big honking sword, but he had to get the sword. This dude is just intense and crazy. Once I am finished with my current projects, he is next on the painting block. I have no idea how I'm going to paint this. I've got a great unclean one from Games Workshop sitting there too that I got to deal with. So they're probably going to get painted at the same time, but the detail on this guy is just absolutely phenomenal. He is nuts. I am probably not going to be able to do this thing justice, but I mean, it is just going to be a fun one to paint. And it's going to be a fun one to have on the tabletop. I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to deal with transporting him with all of those crazy branch-like spike horn things growing off the back of him, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So, I did mention the Queen of Lust. Why don't I grab her, and we will see how she stacks up to both the Lord of Sorrows, the Lord of Ruin, the Lord of Malice over there, and anybody else I can find, okay? One sec, guys. Well, here we have our Queen of Lust, and you'll notice that she's even bigger than the boys. And that's saying something because, well, the boys were pretty big to begin with. She is, I don't know, I was just super impressed. Again, just like the other guys, she has optional heads. She's wearing a helmet. I don't know if I can get that in focus very well. I don't want to move her because she's not fully built and she's not glued down on the base. But she did have an optional head. Her tassels there on her chest are optional as well if that really floats your boat. But I love the ornamental armor there. I'm going to have a field day with that. I probably won't be able to paint it to justice, but I really am going to enjoy it. She's just got all these crazy spikes and claws and spines and horns growing off of her, and these crazy Kate Mamma Mia Z-Ram looking masks all over. I mean, literally all over her. They're on her legs, they're on her toes, they're all over her head. It's just wild. She also takes up a ton of space. I want to say it's about a 100mm base she's standing on there. As you can see, she's, while a bit more lithe and thin than our King of Ruin friend and our Lord of Sorrows, she's quite big. Where's my human? Come here, human. Do my bidding. Yeah, she's a big one. This is a bit more bigger price tag just to compensate for that. I did mention, so she's not fully complete. I did not put her head on, and then there it went again. I have dropped it multiple times in the filming process here. You'll notice that it has all these holes on the back of her head. That's where all of her crazy multi-part segmented tentacle/dreadlocks go, and I'm just absolutely daunted by the fact that I've got to put all that on there. I have no idea how I'm going to pull that off. This is one of the few models that I really had to look online to see how it was going to get built. To give you guys a better view. And of course, as a creature caster model, she's got her perfectly sculpted rear end, but you know, what can you say? I really liked all the spines and spikes growing off her back. It's going to be a complicated one to paint. As I mentioned, I don't have an airbrush, but I think we can handle it. We might cheat and do a base spray coat just to get things started. What color, I'm not sure, but yeah. As I mentioned about the base on our King of Ruin and on our Lord of Sorrows over here, they had a nice indentation where you could see where the figure's supposed to go. Well, not so here. Get out of the way, sir. That little square right there, and that little square right above my other finger. That's all she has to connect her to the base. King of Ruin friend. Big, huge indentations for him to sit in, and we're not going to have any problems with him bouncing off his base there. And yeah, on the bottom, that's it. Just those two little holes. I'm really unsure what I'm going to do about her. I'm thinking that I may just end up putting a pin through there, through the base, and through her foot, and pray to the dark gods that everything stands up nice and straight. Let's see if I can get her nice and straight. I am totally out of focus. Wow. Okay. Let's see if I can get the last of the large creature caster models all on the screen at the same time, despite the Queen of Lust not having a head. Give me 1 sec, and we will be back with the King of Ruin. Alright, I'm attempting to hold the Lord of Ruin in place because he is... King of Ruin, sorry. Absolutely massive, and absolutely ridiculous, and absolutely not completely glued to his base yet. He's just, yeah. I don't know, he's indescribable at this point. One of the things I wanted to point out about him, he, just like all the other guys, has optional faces. He's got his angry Angron looking face, but he also has this cool Darksiders inspired death mask, which is what I went with. I'm debating, as he's about to fall out of my hands here. Let's just lay him down, because he does not want to cooperate. Debating about what kind of skin tones to give him. Do I want to go with the traditional dark red, big evil demon colors, or do I want to go with like a grayish, bluish, death like Darksiders color? I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts, drop it in the comments, because it's going to be a while before I get to him. He's probably going to be the last of these guys I end up hating, just because he's a bit daunting and intimidating. But just one thing I wanted to point out again, not again because I haven't said it yet, said it to myself I guess, that base of his, just really ingenious the way it comes together. So he's got the rubble that's attached to his foot here. That actually gets glued in here. And the axe, which I stupidly cut off, there was a tab that was right here that actually, attaches in the crevasse that he's cut through the dirt and ground there. So sadly I cut that off, but it still fits okay. But yeah, this figure is just gigantic. So if you want a big, nice centerpiece demon, the King of Ruin is definitely going to be a good one for that. We have like 1 part Scarbrand, I figured, with all the holes and the tattered wings and the chains everywhere. But then he also has a bit of the Bloodthirster. The dreadlocks give me a bit of an Angron feel. He's just got a lot of influences going on there. But despite all that, so these are all, at least the ones that I own, of the post Kickstarter creature caster kings and queens and lords. So if you've ever been curious about any of these type models, hopefully this has been somewhat helpful and illuminating. And there's our piddly little GW prints. I should have grabbed Scarbrand and my Bloodthirster, but you know what, we'll save those for another day. The family's all here. Hopefully someone like this will join your family soon too. I am totally rambling, so I'm going to cut myself off right there. And with that, this has been High Lord Tamberlane and all of his obscurities and miniatures saying farewell for now.